Zeus Network CEO just posted a nearly 20-screenshot rebuttal to a sexual assault lawsuit, and somehow that response is generating almost as much conversation as the lawsuit itself. Let's get into what's actually on the table. Jadynn Brown, who appeared on Season 1 of Baddies Gone Wild, filed a civil complaint in Los Angeles County Superior Court on July 1 against Lemuel Plummer and the Zeus Network. The lawsuit accuses Plummer and Zeus Networks of sexual assault, sexual harassment, coercion, retaliation, and wrongful termination. Brown says the pattern began in March 2023, when she was 19 years old. She alleges Plummer first contacted her after she auditioned for Baddies Gone Wild, later inviting her to lunch under the pretense of discussing career opportunities before allegedly telling her that her future with Zeus depended on a sexual relationship with him. That's the foundation of the case, and everything else builds on it. According to the filing, this wasn't a one-time incident. Brown claims Plummer repeatedly pressured her throughout 2023 and 2024, allegedly telling her she had a great personality for Baddies and would become a star on the show. The lawsuit gets more specific from there. She says she auditioned and was offered a role in January 2025, and just days before shooting began the following month, Plummer allegedly coerced her into sex again and had her sign an NDA about their relationship. One of the more disturbing details involves an alleged encounter in March 2025. Brown claims Plummer pressured her into sex while she was intoxicated. And when she tried to decline by telling him she was on her period, he allegedly asked for proof and kept pushing until she complied. The retaliation angle is where the wrongful termination claim comes from. Brown alleges that during auditions for the show's second season in January 2026, she refused further advances, and afterwards saw her opportunities within the network shrink or disappear entirely. She says once she realized the harassment wasn't going to stop, she refused to continue with the audition process and cut off contact with Plummer. That's the arc laid out in the complaint: 3 years of alleged coercion tied directly to casting decisions, capped off by her exit from the show's pipeline. There's also a detail in the filing that could matter far beyond this one case. Brown states that other cast members may have experienced similar treatment, a claim that, if substantiated, could widen the scope of scrutiny on the entire network. That single line is doing a lot of work in how this story is being framed online, because it reframes this from an isolated dispute into a potential pattern. Plummer didn't stay quiet for long. 2 days after the suit became public, on July 2, he posted a lengthy statement on Instagram. He said his relationship with Brown began as a friendship and disputed her claim that he ever promised her a role, writing that he tells everyone the same thing, that opportunities at Zeus have to be earned through the standard casting process. He didn't stop at a written denial. Plummer shared close to 20 screenshots of alleged text exchanges between himself and Brown, some appearing to show her asking about audition updates, others showing him telling her that repeatedly reaching out about Baddies was pushing him away. He also offered a competing explanation for how she landed on the show at all. According to Plummer, Brown was only added to the cast after another performer dropped out shortly before production started. He said the production team approved bringing her on because of that unexpected vacancy, not because of any promise he made. And he went further, framing the lawsuit itself as retaliatory. Plummer claimed Brown began making legal threats only after she wasn't selected for a later season. So now you've got two completely opposite narratives sitting side by side. Brown says years of coercion tied to career opportunities. Plummer says a friendship, a normal casting process, and a lawsuit born out of disappointment over not getting picked again. Screenshots don't resolve that gap on their own. Texts about audition updates can exist in both a legitimate professional relationship and a coercive one, and neither story is disproven just by the other producing documents. The public reaction has split roughly the way you'd expect for a case involving quid pro quo allegations against a network executive. A chunk of the audience is pointing to the specificity of Brown's claims, the NDA detail, the intoxication allegation, the timeline stretching across 2 audition cycles, as evidence that this isn't a vague accusation but a documented, dated account. Others are zeroing in on Plummer's screenshot dump and asking why someone allegedly enduring coercion would keep texting about casting updates at all, treating that as inconsistent with her version of events. Neither reaction accounts for how coercive dynamics actually tend to play out, where continued contact doesn't automatically contradict an allegation of pressure, but that nuance isn't what's trending. What's making this land harder than a typical reality TV dispute is the power imbalance baked into the allegations. Brown wasn't accusing a co-star or a producer, she was accusing the network's own CEO, the person with direct authority over who gets cast and who doesn't. The lawsuit adds another layer here too, alleging Plummer was having unprotected sex with several other cast members on the show, a detail that, true or not, feeds directly into the broader claim that casting and personal relationships were tangled together behind the scenes. Here's where it gets messy for Zeus as a company. This isn't Plummer's first public dispute involving business practices or talent relationships. Former co-founders King Bach and Amanda Cerny have previously alleged they were locked out of the company and denied payments, while Jocelyn Hernandez has publicly accused Plummer of financial sabotage and workplace misconduct. None of those prior disputes are legally tied to Brown's case, and they don't prove anything about these specific allegations, but they build a pattern in the public record of talent and former partners describing Plummer as someone who wields disproportionate control over people's careers at the network. When a new lawsuit alleging exactly that kind of power abuse lands on top of that history, it doesn't read as an isolated incident to a lot of observers, whether or not that's fair. The timing is brutal for Zeus on a personal level too. Plummer recently welcomed a daughter with his partner, Scotty Ryan, a Zeus star herself, and their pregnancy was heavily documented by the network in a series called Scotty with the Baby. That means the same platform currently promoting his family life through original programming is simultaneously the subject of a lawsuit accusing him of coercing a teenage cast member into sex in exchange for a spot on one of its flagship shows. That contrast is going to be hard for Zeus's PR team to manage no matter how this plays out legally, because the network's own content calendar is working against the optics here. Industry response so far has been muted compared to the volume of the online conversation. Zeus Networks hasn't issued a separate corporate statement distinct from Plummer's personal one, and no other cast members have publicly corroborated Brown's claim that others may have gone through something similar. That silence cuts both ways. It could mean nothing else is coming, or it could mean people are waiting to see how this first case unfolds before deciding whether to speak. Entertainment outlets covering this story have largely stuck to reporting both sides without taking a position, which given the ongoing litigation is the standard, careful move. Legally, this is still early. A filed complaint is one side's account, not a verdict, and Plummer's screenshots are his side's evidence, not a rebuttal accepted by a court. What happens next depends heavily on discovery, text records, casting documents, internal communications about how Season 2 auditions were actually run, and testimony from anyone else connected to the production during that window. If Brown's claim about other cast members experiencing similar treatment leads to additional complaints, this stops being a single lawsuit and starts being an operational crisis for the network. If it doesn't, this could stay contained to a he said she said dispute that gets resolved or settled quietly outside public view. For Zeus, the business risk isn't just legal exposure, it's brand risk. The network has built its entire identity around high drama, loosely regulated reality content featuring names like Black China, Ray J, and the Baddies franchise. That model depends on talent trusting the platform enough to sign on for future seasons, and a public sexual coercion allegation against the CEO himself threatens exactly that pipeline. Casting decisions across every Zeus property are now going to get more scrutiny than they did a month ago, and that's true regardless of how this particular case is eventually decided. For Plummer personally, the challenge is that a documents-based defense only goes so far in the court of public opinion. Screenshots showing professional-sounding exchanges don't erase the specific, detailed allegations sitting in Brown's complaint, and trying to frame the entire lawsuit as retaliation over a missed casting opportunity is a risky narrative if any part of her account holds up under scrutiny. He's essentially betting that the paper trail he released reads as more credible than her sworn allegations, and that's a bet that plays out very differently in a courtroom than it does on Instagram. What's clear is that this story isn't going to resolve on social media. It's going to resolve in discovery, depositions, and possibly a trial. And everything circulating right now, the screenshots, the reactions, the side-taking, is just the preview before the actual legal process determines what's provable and what isn't. The real test isn't who posted more convincingly this week. It's whether Brown's specific, dated allegations hold up once they're tested under oath, and whether Plummer's version of events survives the same scrutiny he's currently only facing from strangers online.